on. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is your boy CIZZ, you dig, live action, back at it again with another episode of TCT, the culture talks, baby, because the culture talks, and that's a fact. We are here, we are live, and I say it every single week. I'm coming back with a guest. The guest is gonna be fire. I ain't failed y'all in like goddamn 6 months. Boy, I'm on a roll. You know what I'm saying? Y'all might as well drum roll at home for me. But let me get off the little cocky talk and let's jump into introducing our guest. Today we have, go ahead, my guy.
It's your boy SIV, Saint Civ, either or.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Blessing. So first off, let's tell the behind the story about how long it took this episode on both sides, ladies and gentlemen. We ain't blaming nobody. On both sides, man, we've been trying to make this happen for at least the past 5 weeks, at least, or 4 weeks, something like that. Hey, but that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Both of us are, busy. We got life things to take care of, and it's a blessing to be able to move, hear, see, and do what we have to do each day. So it's a blessing. Speaking of being able to feel, today I got stung by a wasp, ladies and gentlemen. I got stung on my elbow. I know this looks like it's like my elbow. Really, it's actually a bump from the freaking wasp. And like I was getting torn up today. I got dog poop thrown on me by the weed eater while I was cutting with the weed eater. I got stung by a wasp like the cut before that. I was getting torn up, but an attitude of gratitude when the shit got thrown on me. I know it's like, how can you be grateful about that? I'm like, you know what? I literally just had a podcast episode with an individual y'all will hear in a couple weeks, but who went through stage 4 cancer as a young man at the same age as me. I know individuals who are paralyzed right now from violence, from different situations that's happened. I'm like, how can I got a job right now, I'm making money, like, you know what I'm saying, I'm alive, I can move, so this dog shit, this dog shit really ain't no problem. So, all right, bro, go ahead and tell me where Civ comes from. Like what is, like, is that something you came up with? Is that part of your actual name? Is that your actual name? Where Civ come from?
Actually, Civ is two things out of what you just said. It is derived from my last name. And what was the first one you said? Is it your actual name, your like part of your name? You said something else before that.
Yeah, something you came up with for.
Yeah. It was more so a combination of both. Like I came up with it, and it was just a derivative off of the last 3 letters from my last name. My last name is Davis, so it was just taking those last 3 letters in my last name and flipping it, and it was basically just like paying homage to my pops in a sense. So,
I love that. And since you already spoke on it, let's talk a little bit about family life, man. What was it like growing up, in your household? What was the culture like? Was it a strict? Was it calm? Was it relaxed? What was it like? Tell the people a little bit about life growing up for Civ.
It was pretty strict. I didn't grow up with my mom and my dad. Like Dukes was out of the picture for majority of my life, and Pops was in and out. Like he was in and out of my life. I mainly stayed with my mom's sister, like my auntie and her kids. So they're like her 4 kids are like my brothers and my sisters. But I also have 2 other sisters. So it's just like, yeah, like living in that household, I often felt like I don't know, a redheaded stepchild. I often feel like an outcast because it's just like I'm around a whole bunch of I'm around a bunch of kids that aren't necessarily my real siblings, and I see how they interact with their mom and their dad, and I just yearn for that sort of connection. So, granted, nowadays is way more better. Like I understand my place in this world, and to a degree, and me, moms, and pops, we all pretty cool now. So,
Absolutely lit. So your 4 cousins who are pretty much like your brothers and sisters, are they all brothers? Are they all sisters? Is there 2 boys? Like, what was that dynamic?
2 boys and 2 girls. If anything, I'd be like one of the middle children. There's my eldest. There's the eldest girl. Then her brother. Well, then the other boy. God, I'm all over the place. The eldest sister. Then my brother, and then it would be their sister, the next sister. Then it'd be me, and then it'd be like my little brother.
Got you. And what was your relationship like with them? Like growing up, middle school, like elementary, high school? Was y'all tight? Was y'all rocking? Speaking of that, like how close is the age gap? Like was it a huge age gap?
Like a 2-year age gap between everybody. It's only like 2 years. So
Okay.
we was all pretty close, but for the most part, like me and my little brother, we was like freaking frack. You know what I'm saying? We was the closest things. So it was just like that was my dog. Like my rival when it came to sports, you know what I'm saying? We used to always be together, whether it was, playing sports or like we just on the game and, wilding and doing stuff that we felt was cool, I guess.
I feel it. And before we continue on, I want you to try your best, like to take yourself out of you right now, if that makes sense. I know it's kind of hard to do that super fast, but I want you to look at yourself from like a point of view of like a drone. How would you describe yourself from like the outside looking in? If you were to describe SIV, how would you like break down you, your character, your interest? Like how would you describe you?
I feel like I'm an outlier. Like I stand out, but like it's not. I don't know. As much as I don't fit in, there are places a misfit. I fit in some places, but for the most part, I don't fit in with a lot of people. Like I don't try to fit in with a lot of people. I just be me, and if you gravitate towards me, you gravitate towards me.
Absolutely. And I think like one thing that has been like a constant in all of my episodes, but what you just reminded me of right there is just authenticity. Oftentimes when people feel like what you just described, like an outlier or a misfit or that they don't completely fit in with everybody, then they try to, they try to dress differently, they try to speak differently, they try to listen to different music, they try to practice different personality traits that aren't like natural to themselves in order to, get essentially validation and accepted into a group or a community or a tribe.
Right.
So what do you think was like a defining moment in your young life where you realized like, I think I'm a little bit different than the rest, like in whatever way that might be, but like when was that, like when you were young, when you were like, man, like I don't think like these folks, or maybe I don't dress like, what was it though?
I would have to say when I decided to take up poetry, like my sophomore year of high school, just being able to, express myself. I mean, granted, I've been rapping since I was in the 6th grade, but once I took up poetry, that was when I realized that I personally felt like I don't say things how people say things. I don't express myself how, other people express themselves. And like, I've always wanted to be better than I was yesterday, whether it's, mentally, physically, emotionally. Like I always strive to be better than I was before. And I feel like that's something that, and also I carry a lot of optimism, regardless of what negative things are around me or has happened in my past. I still find a way to find light within it. So I guess that would be the most defining moment, was just finding poetry and being able to express myself.
Absolutely, that's fire. And you spoke of high school a few times now, so talk about what part of the city are you from? What school did you go to? Run us through your timeline of elementary through high school. What schools did you go to?
Oh man, elementary to high school, I went to for elementary school, I went to Three Trails. For kindergarten up until 4th grade. 5th grade, I ended up going to like this school called J.A. Rogers Academy. It was like it's by these townhomes called Blue Valley. It's like right down the street from Blue Valley, and
Yeah,
that's like
I pass
that's
it every day.
yeah, yeah, where that's at. So like I went there for like back then they was doing quarters, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and fourth quarter. So like my first two quarters, I was going to J.A. Rogers Academy, and then after that, I ended up moving back, moving to Raytown, and going to Northfleet for the rest of my 5th grade year. Ended up going to Raytown Central Middle School for 6th through 8th, and then Raytown High School all the way up until I graduated. So
nice. And did you play any sports? What were some of your hobbies and interests like between, I mean, I know you mentioned 6th grade, you was rapping since 6th grade. I know you mentioned you pick up poetry, which we will get into both of those here shortly. But what were some of your other interests, some of your other hobbies? Was it sports? Was it anime? What was it?
man, if I'm gonna be honest with you, bro, set aside playing football, I'm a nerd, bro. Like, I play the game. Crazy. It's like I was just playing, and like how you said, I love anime. Like, anime has been a part of my life since before I can remember. Like, one of the first anime I ever saw was Naruto, and like that was just the whole aesthetic of it. I was just like, bro, what is this? Like, who? Like, what is going on here? So it's just like, I don't know. Like, after that, that's about it. Like, playing the game, playing outside with my cousins and the homies, playing football, writing poems, making music. It's all been the same old, same old.
I love it. I love it. Speaking of like anime, it's kind of funny. Like, one thing I've noticed over the years is, I mean, overall in just minority communities, but I've also noticed in like Black communities, for some reason, anime is so popular. Like, it's so prevalent in like Black communities, or in, I know it's not, to some Black folks will be like, what are you talking about, bro? I used to be like looked at as weird for watching that, but bro, I promise you, I promise you, dog, like, as I get older, like when I was younger, don't get me wrong, like when I was younger, I didn't think, I probably was one of the people who was like, what, dog, you watch anime? Cut? Like, I ain't gonna cap. But but what I will say is that as I get older and like do these interviews and have these conversations, I'm starting to realize everybody was low-key sneakily watching anime, dog. I think
Oh,
I think there was like the folks who was like, like you, misfit, outlier, authentic, didn't care. Yeah, bro, I watch anime. And then there was folks who like, well, this shit weird, but they at home watching anime all day.
on the
And
low, or
you know
watching.
why? You know why that exactly, like, you know why I know that's true is because way too many people now talk about yeah, man, I've been watching anime all my life. I'm like, yeah, that's crazy. But nah, I low key I still haven't like committed time to watching anime. So like I know nothing really about anime, but I first got put on to the idea that like niggas be watching anime when I used to go visit my brother in New York, and my brother's a music artist as well. And there was this
Word.
one cat that he used to work with that used to like come to the crib, and they would like do studio sessions. And then like after, he would like put on anime, and like all the niggas would like come around the TV and sit down and watch anime together. And I'm like 7 years younger than my brother, so his homies, they like, I'm like, 13, they like 20, 21. So it's like 21-year-olds, all like Bronx niggas, like, yo, that ass be, yo, that was fire, son. Yo. And I'm just like, yo, anime is popping.
You know what's crazy? Like you said it's just like you never really watched it, but like you was around people who watched it. That's how it always is. It's just like if you around somebody who watch it, and then like you just go through your everyday life or whatever, you're gonna run into somebody who's like, oh, bro, I watched that, da, 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 and that's gonna make you want to watch it in some way, shape, or form. But like if you need some animes, bro, I can recommend you to some. Like I know a few. Oh snap! Okay, there it goes.
Yeah, you good. Absolutely, bro. No, I'm gonna definitely have to ask for like two. It probably, the reason why I probably haven't done it yet is that like starting to hear about it way more is because so many people are starting to get into it, and then my pride is like, nah, I ain't gonna go do what everybody else doing. But but what I do need to do is tap in. I feel like it's definitely a category of shows that's like good for creatives.
Yes. And what I genuinely love about it is the storylines. Storylines in anime like often have like some moral value, some life lesson that is so relatable to, everyday life. Like, I don't know, like watching Naruto, like watching a little kid be like he's a misfit, don't have no parents, you know what I'm saying, no proper guidance, and ends up being like the greatest ninja ever. Like it's an amazing story. It's an amazing story, and that's something that like I genuinely love about anime in general. It's just the storylines. It's stuff you can't get in regular TV.
I love it. I love it. I love the fact that you pay attention to the deeper stories because, bruh, like you just said right there, I'm like, damn, so Naruto is actually a story about adversity and overcoming adversity.
Yeah.
Man,
Yes.
hey, hold up, bro. We just came up with a great idea. We should start a blog that basically breaks down the moral values that, or like the lessons from each anime. And we just like do some long ass blogs like the overcoming adversity, Naruto part one. And then
Hey,
boom,
bro.
break.
Like, don't threaten me with a good time. Like, we're talking about stuff I can be passionate about. Like, I'm down with that. Like,
Hey, shoot, we might make it happen. If I start watching it and I think it's that fire, I might have to tap in. We might have to make that a little business move. You feel me?
I'm on number. You got my
Hey.
number.
Love it, love it. So I wanted to ask you, I was scrolling through your IG and just kind of like trying to learn a little bit more about you without, speaking to you first, to come up with some ideas for questions. And I came across a few posts about and you were just conversating or sharing your thoughts on respecting women. And I wanted you to kind of talk about that a little bit, like who are some important women in your life, and just talk about women and how they've played a role in your life.
If I'm gonna be honest, bro, like my I was surrounded by all women growing up. Like, granted, yeah, my uncles was around and this, that, and the third. I have plenty of cousins that are male figures in my life, but I grew up in a house majority women. You know, a lot of my aunties, they're all siblings, so it's just like, you know, they anytime we would have family dinners, I'm around this person's this cousin's mama and these cousins, you know, like, I don't know. I feel like personally women are at the forefront of a lot of things right now, and you know, it's well deserved. We've spent a lot of time throughout hip hop and just, well, time in general, where we like cast the women to the left, like they come second, when, you know, if anything, a man comes from, well, not if anything, all facts, like, man comes from a woman. So it's just like, I don't know, why wouldn't we give them more respect, you know? So I don't know, that's just my take on it. Like, I'm having a brain fart right now, but yeah, like, that's I'm big on that. Like, that's where a lot of my inspiration comes from as well. Just like past experiences I've had with women, or um present experiences I've experienced with women, like as of late, or just, you know, my thoughts of what this person made me feel like, you know what I'm saying, or how my auntie made me feel like, or how my mama made me feel, and so on and so forth. So
Absolutely, absolutely. I think like tapping into and reflecting on like past experiences is like so amazing because you can turn it into whatever you want to turn it into. You can talk about it on
yeah,
a podcast, you can write, you can draw, create a poem, you can create a rap song, you can create a R&B song. Like the power of stories, the power of storytelling through whatever avenue you decide to do it through is so dope. So I like that you kind of like segued that question into talking about past experiences that you've had and
yeah.
thinking about them. So can you tell me a little bit about you know your earliest memory of you creating a song? So from what I know of you so far and like how I was introduced to you is that you do belong to or you do work with a collab of music artists by the name of
WAP gang. WAP gang.
exactly. So
Yes.
so can you kind of touch on like a two-part question, your earliest memory of starting to do music, and then talk about how you came across or how WAP gang came together?
Okay. Well, as far as like my first experience creating a song, I was trash. Like, I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I wanted to say something. And back then, quick side note, fun fact: my rap name before SIV was Curse with a K. So that's a cool little fun
I like
fact.
that.
But
I like that.
yeah, so that was me. But my first time ever creating a song, you know, it was in my uncle's basement. I'm sitting here trying to say my lyrics, and I'm fumbling over the first line. I could barely hit the downbeat. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a wild experience. Like, I don't know. Granted, if I had an opportunity to talk to myself, back then, like, as I like the things that I know now about creating, I would just tell me to just relax. That was one thing that nobody was really telling me, was just relax and not try to force yourself or, you know, do too much. You know what I'm saying? So, you said what was the second part of the question?
Oh, yeah. So second part is how WAP Gang came about, or how you became a part of that collective.
How I became a part of WAP Gang was really just my bro Damo. He also just dropped a project, Summer Nights. Go get that.
Go check it out. Fire ass project.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's nice. But me and him was already talking about, you know, coming up with a group like way prior to this. That was already an initial thought. And a friend of mine named Raya, she pitched the idea to me, him, and like a few other friends, Jiggy and Adita. She just pitched that idea to all of us, and we was kind of just like, I'm down if y'all down. So it's just like, I don't know, it just became everything off of like the strength of I mess with this person, I know this person, you know, like we could really make something nice. So
I feel it. And what does WAP stand for?
Wild and peaceful. Not wet ass pussy, but wild and peaceful.
And can you talk a little bit about like what that means to you, wild and peaceful? Like, I know it probably means something different to all the group members, or collective members. But by the way, what do you call it? Do you call it a group, a collective, a band? What is it?
I would say a group or a collective, either or.
Got you.
Like,
Got you. Just want to
yeah,
make sure I'm saying the right thing.
yeah, collective, conglomerate, whatever, you know. Like, it's
Anytime somebody says conglomerate, I just think of Busta Rhymes. I don't know why, but that boy's voice just says conglomerate like in my head like all the time. I don't know why. But yeah, speak on wild and peaceful, what that means to you.
Wild and peaceful, I feel like every human is wild and peaceful to a degree, you know, it's just that duality, you know what I mean? Like, if you look at how we were as kids, we were fearless, we were reckless, you know, we were relentless. And then as a lot of us have grown older, we starting to dial down and, you know, realize that, you know, there's a much bigger picture. And that's where that, in my opinion, that's where that peaceful aspect comes together. Like, you want to, nowadays, like, I feel more at peace just, you know, finding new things to keep me peaceful. Like, I drink tea damn near every other day. So it's just like I drink water. I meditate. I pray. I like my solitude. And like, these were all things that like I would not be saying if you was talking to the 13-year-old me. Like, I would be saying like, bro, let's go outside. Like, let's go do this. Let's go jump off of the school. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's
Right.
go run the roof. Like, I don't know. Like, I would just say wild stuff. Like, I don't know. It's just that duality. So
Absolutely. And I think it's important to use that language, the duality, because oftentimes people think when you adapt or you add a new component to your life, that's totally your new life. Like,
right.
okay, I'm gonna start meditating. Oh, well, if I start meditating, that means all I can do is meditate. All I can do is I can't go out and like drink. I can't go have fun. I can't go. No, bro. Like, it's all about duality. It's all about, being able to live a cohesive life, like something where everything is integrated to best serve you as an individual. And now that involves a social life, that involves talking, that involves partying, that involves whatever
Right.
you find social. Like, for me, partying isn't social to me. I don't like partying, but I do like being around large groups of people and like working out or like going on walks. Like, that's the type of like social vibes that I like. So whatever that might be for you, whether it's going out and drinking, you can still meditate, you can still work out, you can still pray, you can still drink tea. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but also finding out what works for you. I'm glad that you mentioned that you be drinking tea damn near every day because it makes you feel a little bit more peaceful, because that is a perfect example of just adding things to your life that work for you, that's best serve you. So speaking of that, what's your favorite tea? What tea you be drinking?
Chai. I love
Hey,
chai.
okay, all right, okay. Be having you know, dab of milk, you know what I'm saying? A little dab of some.
Oh, that's great. Matter of fact, that's crazy. Like I actually put on a pot not too long ago to make me a cup. So
He said, "I'm gonna be lukewarm when he done with the podcast."
yeah, I'm
Hey, it's
gonna
okay.
do it.
You can rewarm it up. You feel
You
me?
already know. That's part of the plan.
Yeah, bro. Speaking of chai, bro, I got the perfect chai for you to have. On the Ave, there's this place called Yasmin Cafe. It's an African
Okay.
restaurant, right? It's like right on the Ave, and where I don't know what highway that is, but a highway and the Ave meet each other, and it's called Yasmin Cafe. Go in there and be like, let me get some chai, and they will give you a fire, pretty solid cup of some hot, spiced chai.
Don't threaten me with a good time, because I will
Bruh,
go.
bruh,
I
I
will
got
go.
you. Matter of fact, I'm gonna take you, bruh. Later this week, I'm gonna slide, I'm gonna pull up. I'm like, skirt, skirt. We're going to get some chai, G.
We
We
gotta
go.
go get some chai, G.
Yes, sir, ski. Yes,
I'm
sir,
with it.
ski. Hey, we're
I'm
gonna
with
make
it.
it happen. So speaking, we talked a little bit about respecting women, but I still want to go back to the topic of respect. Can you define what respect means to you? Like how do you like to be treated as an individual? How can a male or female, or like, a person in your collective, a person in at your job, like how do you like to be treated?
Just more or less talk to me how you want to be talked to. Like I don't know. It's always a way to approach a situation. And one thing that my pops, if he hasn't taught me anything, he's taught me one thing. And it's of course, say what you mean and mean what you say, but it's not about what you say, but how you say it. So that's something that I've always been mindful of, and how I've approached conversations and how I choose to talk to people. I often try to give compliments and tell people affirmations and do what I can to make everybody else feel comfortable or feel good. So
Absolutely.
just talk to me how you want to be talked to.
What part of life was there any specific event or person that inspired you to start shifting your mindset towards things like affirmations, towards things like
Yeah.
meditation, towards um basically wellness overall? Like what shifted your
um
mindset? When did your perspective on life shift in that direction?
I started listening to the rapper Dizzy Wright, and I feel like he don't get enough credit. That's one artist that was like, who, when he first started coming up around Hobson. I don't know if you ever
Yeah,
listened to
yeah.
Hobson.
Familiar
Yeah,
with
like
Hobson. I know who Dizzy Wright is, but not so much familiar with his music, but definitely familiar with Hobson.
yeah, Dizzy Wright was kind of like my first um the first perspective that I got from somebody who seemed like really chill, who's a phenomenal artist. And like he speaked about so many real life experiences, and just talk, I don't know, it often felt like he was talking to me in a sense with like some of the things that he would say. So like there was the Smoke Out Conversations album that he dropped, that and the mixtape, the Smoke Out Conversations mixtape, Wisdom and Good Vibes, um, State of Mind. Like he has a lot of projects where, if not the title of the project is captivating, the track list and like how he presents himself on songs, will draw you in. So Dizzy Wright most definitely was like the first person that ever like clicked something into my brain and was just like, bro, like you kind of need to, what I'm saying, rearrange your thoughts a little bit, see the world from a different lens. So
And when you meditate, like what's your go-to? Do you have an app? Do you have like something you watch on YouTube? Do you have something you were taught when you were younger? Or do you just take time to like shut off everything and just sit there with yourself? Like what does meditating look like for you?
that I find someplace quiet, and I will either turn on like my YouTube and just go to like some like pick a specific chakra, whether like I want to focus on my root chakra, my heart chakra, whatever, whichever one I'm focusing on that point. And I will kind of just like zero in on just like what, if okay, for example, my root chakra, I would listen to like just like the frequencies that they have on YouTube for the root chakra, and just like focus on everything that has made my roots up to this point, focusing on everything that's made me who I am. And you know, more so just, I don't know, like acknowledge my faults, tell myself affirmations. And if my mind starts wandering off past like what I'm initially targeting, I just try to, you know, center back and keep going.
Absolutely. And how have you seen like meditation and drinking tea and you mentioned a few, or like, you know, saying affirmations to yourself and others. How have you seen that have a positive effect on your life personally?
I feel like it's very different. I'm in a much, you know, calmer state than I was years ago. Like I feel more at peace with myself. I feel more comfortable in my own skin. Granted, like I should have said this prior, but you know, what I do may not work for you or for the next person. Like everybody has their own niche, but you know, the way I've done things, I often feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to, you know, like it just feels comfortable. It feels right. So I just take that in consideration, and I keep moving.
I feel it. I feel it. And I think this conversation kind of makes me just want to touch on the topic of mental health in the Black community and how
Yeah.
important it is, especially, I mean, in the Black community in general, because, you know, as much as other communities may want to deny it, there's lots of trauma in our communities that run through generations, through
Right.
generations and generations, and it's continuing to this day in its own way. So I think mental health and really tapping into finding ways to find happiness, calmness, find ways to move through life for ourselves, whether that, like for you, is through meditation and drinking tea, or for me, is through just thinking about gratitude every single day and trying to work
Yeah.
out, or through for other individuals where it's just specifically just praying or go to church, whatever it is, paying attention to our mental health and it not being so tis to talk about. Like being able to be,
Yeah.
yeah, being able to be with your homies, with your dogs, no matter where they come from. Because I'm sure you can attest to this. Like, and I feel like you can attest to this just because of the energy I'm feeling from you. But like when you are quote unquote an outsider, or think a little bit differently or move a little bit differently than the crowd, you tend to attract all different types of people into your life because like, not to be arrogant or cocky, but the truth is people who are peaceful and can provide that energy are very like magnetic.
Yeah.
So individuals who come from lifestyles that you may not live, you may not be I mean, just to give direct examples, you may not be out here like in the streets doing whatever street folks do or whatever, but people like that may be attracted to you. So your inside circle may be that type of time. And I think it's like a perfect chance. It was a perfect chance for me. So I'm kind of speaking about myself right now. It was a perfect chance for me to be able to just be open and have these conversations with my dogs because they're not going to
Mm.
get it anywhere else. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Yeah.
let's talk about meditation, why it's important. Let's talk about why taking care of your body is important. Let's talk about prayer. Let's talk about faith. Let's talk about depression, like, you know, and making it less, you know, scary or weird to talk about. You feel me?
Yeah. And I agree with you like completely. Like that's something that, you know, like how you said, in the Black community, that's something that we should really shed. Is just, you know, it's okay to talk about certain things that you necessarily probably wouldn't talk about 20 years ago, or you know what I'm saying, 60 years ago, whatever. But we need that. That's just going, I don't know, for us to get where we are today and be able to have the conversation that we having now, it had to be so many different points where people were just like, okay, well, I feel comfortable around this person. I can say these certain things, you know. And I feel like we just don't. have enough safe spaces. We don't have enough places where people can actually feel comfortable speaking how they feel about certain things without getting judged, or like, I don't know, like it's wild. It's wild in the times that we live in, but I'm a strong advocate for people being able to speak their piece, people that being able to speak on how they feel, regardless of what your traumas was. Like, you gotta shed that at some point.
Absolutely. I love that. I love that. So my guy, let's talk a little bit more about music. What is the most challenging thing in your opinion about being an artist?
What is the most challenging? I would say I'm heavy on lyrics. I love words, vocabulary, and being able to make words do whatever I want them to do. That's something I genuinely love to do. So I would have to say, if not anything, what's the most challenging is like picking a flow for a beat, like it, or just picking a beat in general, because it'd be times where I'll record something on a beat and be like, bro, this sounds really nice. And then like a few days later, as I'm, listening to beats and like surfing through beats or whatever, I'll be like, that thing that I did last week sounds dope on this beat. Like, I don't know. It's just that feeling of like wanting to continue trying something. Like, I go through drafts all the time. So it's just like, I don't know. I don't know. The most challenging would probably be just staying zero in and allowing what I did on one beat to be exactly what it is and not altering it in any way, shape, or form, I guess.
I feel that. I think that's something that's like super prevalent for a lot of artists. That was like the most difficult thing for me, like living around nothing but musical artists in LA was like, oh my God, I gotta listen to the same song 50 million times. And then after that, they changed it up. Now I gotta listen to the change up 50 million
Yep.
times. And
Yep.
then after I finally start to like one of them, 6 months later, they ain't releasing it. And I'm
No.
like, and I'm just like, geez, oh my God. It was like being like an outside of it, because I'm not an artist in terms of musically, but like I would just be like, so it was just so weird looking at it. I'm just like, yo, y'all done made that song for 7 months, working on it every night, engineering, got it all, putting money into it, putting time into it, and then all of a sudden, never mind, I ain't gonna drop it. I just don't like it enough.
It's crazy because like as artists, we often look for perfection. You know what I'm
Yes, y'all
saying?
do.
Like, if it's, hey, I'm trying to tell you, like, it's scary in the sense to how the how it can become an obsession trying to find perfection. And it's just like, it is what it is. It sounds the way it sounds. And it's like, you can't alter it too much until it starts sounding like nothing it was before. So it's just, I don't know. People just gotta, as artists, I would say we just gotta start going with our first minds and allowing ourselves to just free flow, I guess.
I feel it. If you were to like describe your music style, what would you say? Like how your music sounds to you, or maybe the content that you put in your music, how would you describe it?
How would I describe it? I wouldn't say that I'm like very preachy, but I often try to talk a lot about like life lessons and stuff like that. More than anything, potent. I would describe it as potent, because it's just like it's all me. You're getting like the most authentic me you can possibly get when I'm writing my lyrics. Like, whether I'm trying to tell you something about how I feel, what I know, what I think, what I don't know, like it's just me.
I
So
like I like that. All right, bro. You can deny it if you want. All right, I'm just giving you the opportunity to deny it ahead of time.
okay.
But would you be open to reciting a short poem of yours, or a quick little it don't have to be a freestyle, but a little bar from one of your songs that you really like, anything of that nature? If not, go ahead and deny it. It's cool. But
No, it's cool. I could. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just spit 6 a.m. what I did on 6 a.m. for on leftovers.
bet.
Day by day, life lock picking, it's not safe. food for your thoughts, still licking crumbs off my plate. Don't fit in, just make room. Never been afraid of change. Too specific, can't read hieroglyphics, then just know my aim different. The same places where I meditate, self-medicate at 3 a.m. Hoping I get close to where the Lord stay, cause limb from limb, family trees been meeting different grave sites. And I'm a target till the womb. I'm a target from the womb till my grave life is over. Broad shoulders with a chip perch, product of my environment, high supply of RP t-shirts, profit to my people, connect the dots when I so search. Life is a movie on God's screens, few attempt to see if the camera work. Viewer discretion advised upon your airwaves, ill mind, sanctuary, or another enclave. Realize my potential and got the okay to keep the skies in my Levi's. This is just the start of an untelevised revolution Aryans want to take part of. Oh, damn, I think he talked too much, stressing about the stress, my nigga. I really don't talk enough. Barely can stomach my emotions, so I bottled them up. Tenfold long tears, yet my dreads hang like a weeping willow. Right was here, though. Yeah.
I like that. I think you described potent well. I think
Respect, respect.
real facts, real facts. I love that. See, I love when you ask somebody to do something and then they don't fail you. See, it would have been terrible if it was trash.
Hey,
I'm
trying to tell you, if you was talking to like 13-year-old me, you would have
Nah,
been like,
at the end of the day, you got to respect people's efforts regardless. And at the end of the day, that's the coolest thing about being like tapped in with artists is that y'all really have to develop the confidence to go up there and perform. You know what I'm saying? Like
yes,
people
sir.
often forget how challenging that is. Obviously, after your first or second show, you start to develop a little bit, but most artists are gonna agree and say that before every show they got a little bit of jitterbugs, just a little,
Always.
you know, a little
I
something.
still get nervous to this day. Like it don't matter how many times I perform, like I still see every performance as my first one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I try to treat it as such, whether I do good or bad, like I still try to treat it as like this is the first one. We gotta do what we gotta do. Remember your lyrics, remember your moves, do what you need to do.
Exactly. And then, you know, it's literally public speaking, bro. Like that's
Yes.
literally what it is. And it's like basically claps and shout outs to all artists who do that on a consistent basis. So that's powerful.
Respect.
What inspired you to start poetry? You say you started poetry at a fairly young age, around sophomore year, you said, or am I
Mm-hmm.
remembering wrong? Yeah.
Nah, you right.
So talk about what kind of inspired you. Was there anything in particular, or you just writing? You were like, hold up, this is a damn poem.
My aunt has showed me and my cousins like a poem that she had written off of a conversation that she had. Like it was like a cool little love poem, and her words were so mesmerizing how she decided to make things flow. So it was like I just kind of took that into account, and I knew I had a story to tell, like just based off of how I felt about my mom and my dad and the life that I've lived. So that was kind of it. That was kind of it. Just yeah.
I feel you. And you did like 30 days of poems or something
Yeah,
along
30
that
for
line for
30.
30 for
30 for
30
30.
on Instagram. Tell me about why that idea popped up and what was that experience like for you, like putting that out?
It was National Poetry Month. So 30 for 30, I've only done like 2 30 for 30s in my life. And that one was during a time where I was still going through a lot of shit. I was catching the bus to work a lot and just being able to, you know, get off of the bus and talk about little things that I've experienced leading up to that day, whether it be emotions that I went through yesterday and like how whatever occurred made me feel yesterday or how I feel at that given moment, you know, whether it be through, you know, social injustices and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. It was just something that I feel like I needed to do. Like, and it kept me creative and inspired me. Like, it's times where I go back and I read some of those poems. And I'm like, damn, I wrote that. I said that. So it's just like, all right, well, you know, keep inspiring, keep motivating, and, you know, keep flushing out those ideas. That's just the moral of it, I guess.
I love it. And I think like one thing, especially with poetry, but just with creativity in general, like I think it forces you to, actually specifically with poetry, it forces you to self-reflect. And
Yeah.
oftentimes people move through life without doing that. And they never develop the ability to self-assess, which is actually something that can hold you back greatly in life. So I think the cool thing that I respect a lot of things about poets, but I think the cool thing that I can respect about poetry and people who do that on a day-to-day basis is that they've learned how to self-assess, they've learned how to self-reflect. And when you're able to do that, you can grow faster because you can identify where you're at, you can identify your emotions, and then you can take action, you can address those things. And
Yes.
so I think poetry is super sick, and I love seeing anybody do it, but specifically love seeing Black men do it because I know that a lot of my friends, I know that a lot of my siblings, cousins, you know, that look like us, um, unfortunately don't have that skill or haven't adapted or adopted that lifestyle of self-reflection, which is so powerful.
Yes, I agree, and I feel like I don't know, like how you said, being able to do poetry, like it's time. Well, one thing that I've come to the realization is just like I'm not my thoughts. You
Mm,
know what I'm saying? Like it's a lot of things that we tell ourselves in our heads. Like just going back to that mental health thing, like it's a lot of things that we tell ourselves and you know treat ourselves a certain way. Like you can hear just it, you can hear it in certain people's speech patterns, how they talk about themselves. And it's just like, bro, like you're so much more than what you give yourself credit for. And I feel like that's something that people really need to just look in the mirror and tell themselves more. It's just like, bro, like I'm more than my thoughts. Like I'm not my thoughts. I'm more than that. So
right.
that being able to self-reflect is important.
That's powerful. That's powerful. So talk about what it means to be a new age hippie and your
Yeah.
go ahead and speak on that. What does that mean to you?
Being a new age hippie, I feel like is in more ways than one paying homage to the old generation. Like we, a lot of things have repeated itself in history, and whether it be through fashion, through you know the way the culture is shifted. Um, I don't know. Like I feel like I don't know. Like that's a really important question. I really feel like as far as being a new age hippie, uh, hmm, this is something that nobody has ever asked me before. Okay.
Yes, I achieved the podcast award of asking a question nobody's ever asked
Yes.
before.
I respect that one. I respect that one. Being a new age hippie, I would definitely have to have says more about just like taking on that role of being myself to my fullest capabilities. Like I'm I've heard this once. My mentor told me this the other day. Like I sent them like some drafts for some songs, and he was just like, "Dude, you are so good at being yourself." And I was just like, "I appreciate that. Like I do my best to be myself." Like so, I don't know. Like I feel like that plays a major part in like the new age hippie thing. Um, I used to smoke a lot of weed, like a lot of weed. So that I don't know, that may play a factor in it as well.
No,
But
I think you made a really good point there, saying like just it represents you just being it's yourself to the fullest degree, and the reason why I think that's a good representation of like self being a self-proclaimed new age hippie is that if we look back at the 60s and 70s where the hippie movement started to like really become a thing and like spread like
yeah,
crazy, these were individuals who were really investigating self, whether that was through drugs or through other ways. But regardless, their goal and their intention was to really feel something new, really try to find new ways into their head, whether it's through smoking weed, whether it's mushrooms, whether it's just meditation, whether it's yoga, whether it's through going outside the box and dressing differently. They were trying to truly tap in and be how they felt. Oftentimes people feel a certain way, but they're not being how they feel every day. they might feel like a freaking, I don't know, they might feel like a freaking rock star, like a freaking like teed up, super high energy. They feel like waving their hair back and forth, being like super colorful with their outfits and dyeing their
Right.
hair and like having all this stuff. But then in their real life, they're like they control that, they minimize that, they hide it, they push that down. You know what I'm saying? And I feel
Yeah.
like you being like we've talked about throughout this conversation, just being yourself and just accepting you for you, no matter how the world's going to approach you, no matter if you're looked at as an outsider, just being you is a perfect example of being a new age hippie. So I think you explained it well. he
Thank you.
said, he said that was that was a great response right there. I like that.
I
um,
appreciate you, man.
so talk a little bit about who your biggest musical influences have been throughout your life. You talked about Dizzy Wright. You talked about, actually I think you just specifically talked about Dizzy Wright. But outside of Dizzy Wright, is there anybody else that has inspired you throughout the years, whether it's through hip hop, maybe it's not hip hop, maybe it's rock, whatever it is?
Of course. Tech Nine, that was also one of my first ones, and I feel like he don't get enough credit. But that's another conversation we can have later. But Tech Nine, Dizzy, of course. Since high school, I've been big on like Kendrick, Cole, Earth Gang, Jid, Schoolboy, Isaiah Rashad, Mick Jenkins, Saba. Like, I don't know. Like, have you ever heard of BMV?
No.
This is off topic, but it has something to do with the topic. So BMV is Brave New Voices, and it's a like a national poetry competition. And I was able to, make an appearance in Washington, D.C. for their competition back in 2016.
Sick.
Kansas City ended up not paying, but um, ranking top 20. So like that was a blessing to even be around there. But like that was like a major culture shock for me due to the simple fact that like everywhere, all these other different places like LA, New York, Trinidad, you know what I'm saying? Like all these different places, the way they present their words, the way they present their message, whether it was the same, whether these two people are talking about, a black man, a police brutality, you know what I'm saying? A black man getting murdered, or, these people are talking about equality, the way that they present their messages was always different. And that's something that like a lot of the artists that I like to listen to often do, is just like, even though they're talking about a lot of similar things, the way they present their messages is always different. The way they present the words is just different. So
I like that. Yeah, that's fire. Um, Man, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you again for hopping on the podcast today. It's really a blessing on my part, and of course on the listeners' part, to be able to have the chance to hear people's life stories that aren't fucking the most huge celebrities in the world. Like really tapping into real humans. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
real people. Not to say other people aren't real, but we don't really get that type of, you know, whatever access. So for me, it's so dope to be able to elevate voices, especially black and brown voices from the Kansas City area and from abroad and from across the country, because everyone
respect.
has a unique story. You know what I'm saying? Everyone has a unique way of thinking. Everyone has unique poetry, unique music, like you were just mentioning a second ago. And I think it's super important to, whether the platform is 1 million followers or 20 followers, just the the ability to give, you know, black voices a platform is just a big blessing on my part. So thank you for taking the time out to pop on, to conversate, to share a little bit about your story and your thoughts and meditation and mental health, like important topics, bro. So thank you for
To
that.
be honest, don't get it confused. Like I got everything figured out, because I don't. Like I'm still figuring out, little bits and pieces of myself. Like I still have my days where I get frustrated and upset and depressed and, down, and isolate myself. But that's just how I deal with it, So like I may talk about meditation and prayer and stuff like that, but like at the end of the day, like I still have those days where I'm down. Like I do my best to be optimistic, even better, even more in those days. But you know, like I'm still human at the end of the day too. Like I'm just like you. We all go through our emotions. So
Man, I think two things right there. First off, 100% feel you on that. Like, I don't know if you see like a lot of my IG posts, but like my energy's always teed up. I'm always sharing, positivity, love,
yeah,
trying to inspire, trying to talk about, shifting your mindset, and even in difficulty. And so sometimes people forget, and I'm sure this is in your experience too, and that's probably why you just mentioned that. Sometimes people forget that I'm human. Sometimes people forget that
yeah,
I also get pissed. I also be wanting to fight. I also be having moments of anger. I also be cussing people out on accident. Like,
you know
you
what
know what
I'm
I'm saying?
saying?
Like, I'm not saying that's okay, and I'm not saying that's like my character, but and
Right.
I do like catch myself, and that's the whole point, is being able to be mindful of self and self-aware and reflect and meditate. These things help us catch ourselves in those moments when we're super
Like a
depressed,
net.
when we're super angry, when we're feeling violent, you know what I'm saying? Like whatever it is, like however we're feeling, these types of things like affirmations, meditation,
Yes,
drinking tea,
sir.
these help us catch ourselves so that we can be like, oh shit, I'm in this mood right now. This is not conducive to my growth. Let me catch myself. Whereas when
Yes,
you don't
sir.
have these, when you don't have these mindsets, when you don't have these strategies, these processes you go through, then when you get angry, you angry. And that's how,
Yeah.
folks end up in prison. That's how folks end up in bad situations. That's how folks end up abusing people they love, because they don't have.
Continue in a cycle.
Exactly, exactly. And when that's not broken, when these conversations are not had, like right now, we might have potentially, right in this past 5 minutes, broken the cycle for somebody else and changed their mindset. And that's the hope.
Boom.
You know what I'm
Boom.
saying? That's
There
the
it
hope.
is.
But that's why these conversations are important.
Breaking generational curses, one chain link at a time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And with that being said, I got one final question for you, my guy. You ready for it?
Yeah, what's good? What's good? What we got? What we got?
All right, all right. All of your music has been deleted from Earth.
Oh
All of
my
your
God.
poetry has been deleted from Earth.
Oh my
All of
gosh.
your IG posts, your YouTube videos, whatever you have has been deleted from Earth.
Oh my goodness.
You are 91 years old. You've lived a long life, but it's your last day. And you know it's
Oh,
your last day. Your
okay.
great grandkids are sitting in front of you at your feet while you're on a chair talking to them. And you have to give them one piece of advice of how to live a good life. What are
Hmm.
you going to tell them?
What am I gonna tell them? Hmm. I just put a lot of things into perspective. See, me being the optimist I am, I'm I'm gonna tell them to remain hopeful. Like remain vigilant, remain hopeful. You know, even on your darkest days, observe. You know, like assess, always like self-reflect often. So don't be afraid to not try new things. Always be open-minded. Um, do your best to do your best. You know, I feel like as children, well, from my perspective, I wasn't really told to. I don't know. I wasn't really instilled enough courage. I wasn't instilled enough, love and just push to do my best. So yeah, like even if I'm not around for future generations to be like that source of optimism, that source of courage, that source of hope, faith, love, and anything like that, find that within yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, be
Also trust
hopeful.
God.
Oh, trust God. Trust God.
Trust the
Be
Lord
hopeful.
himself.
Trust God. Be hopeful and do your best to do your best, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys for listening to this conversation. Please make sure you leave a 5-star review and comment below, as that does help this podcast grow. And don't forget to go follow my guy, SIV. Go ahead and share your IG and anywhere they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter, SIVXVIS. That's SIVXVIS. And that's both on Instagram and Twitter.
I love it. And I'm glad that you told me the story behind the name because now I understand what you did right there.
You
Yes,
see
sir.
what I'm
All right.
saying?
All right. All right. All right.
All right. Yes,
All right.
sir.
Most definitely. All right, guys. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure y'all have a blessed day. Move with an attitude of gratitude. And with that being said, this is CIZZY, and this is the Culture Talks. Salute.